Do you know what updates you should be making in your home in order to get you the largest return on investment? I do. I've been in thousands of homes. I have seen hundreds of thousands of pictures online, maybe even millions of pictures online of homes that show well and homes that don't show well. I've been with so many buyers who are actually in these homes telling me what they like about them and what they don't. I'm going to show you real life examples today of homes that are on the market, and then I'm going to tell you what they should have done in their homes, and I'm going to show you the after pictures as well, because we've got all this for you today. I have not seen anybody else on YouTube doing this, so I want to make sure you stick around until the end. Now, many of my viewers have a problem because a lot of my viewers are women and their husbands want the most amount of money when they go to sell their house. And they don't think that they need to put any money in because they love their houses. What's wrong with it? This is just the way it looks. We've lived like this forever. Why do we need to make updates? So the real difficulty is getting men, typically the husbands, to agree to get these updates done. So if I am talking to you, make sure you show your husband this video because he's not going to want to miss seeing the transformation with the little tiny updates that you make. And after you make these updates, I promise the house is going to sell faster and it's going to sell for more money. You are going to get your return on investment. If you do not do the things that I'm talking about, it could cost you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen it. So I'm telling you, this video will change how you think about updating your home. So now first, if you haven't been here, I want to make sure you download our seller playbook, which is below. Our seller's playbook is going to give you the guideline and the path for what I'm talking about. It's going to show you the updates you should be making and the ones you shouldn't be making. It's going to talk to you about the strategy. As I said, 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years, this is for you. If you own a home, this is for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's take a look at this first house, this living room here. Now you can see this is probably an older couple maybe lived here. You can tell that kind of from the furniture. The walls look pretty good. This color on the walls looks very, very neutral and it's great. But the first things that you look at when you look at this room are these flags. I'm not quite sure why those flags are there. And as an agent, I probably would have said, you really need to get those flags down. Remember, anything personal in your home is a detractor. That is not what you want somebody to remember when they walk into your house. So they leave the house because then they're thinking, oh, remember that house? It's got that huge doll collection? Or that spoon collection or something like that. That is not what you want the house to be. Your house needs to be neutral. You need to make the home feel like somebody can move into it and make it theirs. You don't want them to have to envision what it could be. You want to make it easy for them. So now this room could have benefited from some staging. And when I talk about staging, I'm not talking about necessarily bringing in a ton of furniture. I'm talking about using what you have and maybe adding a few pieces or moving them around and taking things away. So what I probably would have said to them is this gray couch is okay. It's not bad. Neither are these end tables. Those are pretty good too. The chair on the right there is not bad either. That looks pretty good too. And you probably can work with a lot of this stuff in this room. So you would not have to actually bring in a lot of additional furniture. It would just be things that are here. So I would have removed this picture. I would have removed the flags. I'd probably take out that blue chair and then maybe move the furniture a little bit closer together so it looks a little more cohesive. I'd pull these other pictures off of the wall and I would make it a little more modern and contemporary by adding some pictures that younger people might be interested in. Now, if you are interested in these types of pictures, you can get them at Home Goods, you can go to Target. We're not talking expensive paintings. And I know you're probably going to be removing your expensive paintings and putting up what you might consider to be garbage. It's just the way it is. It looks better in pictures. Now, I've gotten so many comments and kind of hate from buyers out there who say that they love to be able to envision it. They love the antiques and all that. Well, yes, they may love that, and I'm not criticizing them for that. What I'm saying is in order to get the most amount of money when you go to sell and to make it as easy as possible, you need to appeal to the mass audiences and you need to look like the home is on HGTV. I do have another video about that, HGTV, and how it's kind of changed the whole industry. I want to make sure you don't miss that one. But you don't want people to have to imagine the home. when they're looking at it in place. So if you take away some of the dated furniture and you neutralize it out, that's going to help. So I might take this room, which already has the great colors, and I'd keep that rug. The rug is pretty neutral there, so I would keep that. I think that's fine. And it's got some beautiful hardwood floors. The other thing you may want to do with that rug is pull it all up and get a smaller one to showcase the hardwood floors, because hardwood floors always show well. If you have hardwood floors under carpet in your bedrooms, I highly recommend pulling up all of the carpet, even if the floors don't look great. Many people will refinish their floors when they move in. It's just the way it is, the name of the game. Many sellers will say, my floors are all scuffed. Honestly, I don't like this as an update to do, is refinishing your floors, because most people want the house empty and then they'll pick the color. If you refinish your floors because there's some scuffs from the dog, it's going to be a trauma for you and it will cost you money, and it doesn't necessarily get you the return. But if you have a room like this where the floors look great, the rug is pretty big, I might pull that out and then just either go with nothing or go with a small rug so you can see how beautiful that flooring is in there. Now I want you to imagine this room as being changed. How different do these two rooms look to you? Again, buyers, you may say, we love the room the way it was. I understand you love the room the way that it was, but it's not showcasing the house at its highest and best. And many buyers like the way the house looks originally because they think they can get a deal on it. That is the mindset of a lot of buyers. The more work it needs, they know that they can get a deal. The other thing are these valances. These are very neutral valances. They look pretty good. I'm not hating them. However, I really think they need to be lifted up more so you can get more light in. These are neutral. I would not take these down because they work. But if you have something that's more dated, I might take them off completely and not worry about putting something up. Many of my sellers think that if they're taking down valances or curtains, they need to put up something else. Many times you don't, especially if it's in a room like this. Now in bedrooms, that's a little bit different. People don't like to move into the house and not have anything on their wall and not have any drapes. Remember what I talk about. Fake it. You're going to fake the house. You're going to make it look a little more trendy without doing a whole lot. Take it. You're going to take great pictures. You have to have quality pictures, and you're going to take it. You're going to take the money out when you sell your home. Now, many people ask me about carpeting, and this carpeting in this picture is not really super trendy. Now, it's not horrible, but there's some beautiful hardwood floors underneath this carpeting there. And so what's going to showcase better is taking up this carpeting. Because here's the issue, is that carpet runs all the way upstairs. Now, I've seen a lot of homes like this. There's a very good chance that there's hardwood underneath this carpet. If there's hardwood underneath that carpet, I would say you need to pull it all up. Now, remember, again, you're going to say, but the hardwood doesn't look good under it. That's okay. As long as it's not like completely terrible, it's going to shoot fine in pictures. The problem with this carpet is it's everywhere. And most likely that carpet is not going to go with somebody else's furniture. When you're thinking about your home, you want it to be a neutral palette. You want it to be a base for the buyers to come in so they can make it what they want it to be. And most likely that is not going to be their choice. That is not going to be their taste. I don't really recommend, though, replacing all of this in carpet, just because not everybody loves carpet upstairs in their bedrooms. A lot of people do love carpet, but if you're going to replace the carpet, there's a good chance you're probably not going to choose the right one. There are many different types of carpeting out there that you can choose from, and many people like a Berber kind, which is kind of the low pile on it. However, the cheaper kind is really the plush kind, and that just, it doesn't exude luxury. You're not going to go and replace this carpet, which was probably very expensive, with some cheap plush carpet, and it's going to feel that way. It's just going to feel cheap. So when you're replacing carpeting or flooring, you have to be really careful in what you do, and I highly would recommend you getting an agent to come in and talk to you specifically about this. As you guys know, if you need an agent, link is below. More than happy to find somebody in your area who can help. So getting back to kind of this entryway room, the one thing I might do, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments about this, how buyers hate painted wood. I will tell you, many people don't like painted wood. And the idea and the concept of it is really not great. Nobody likes the idea of painted wood. However, this type of wood, it would do you probably good to paint it. I'm going to go through this and show you what I'm talking about here. So now they actually did a good job because they've painted their spindles here. That is something that updates a house. So if you're feeling like you don't want to paint all of the wood in the house, that's fine. But painting these spindles is something that really does help elevate it. Now they painted their banister and railing black. I don't always love that. My guess is that it was originally this oaky color that they probably thought might look a little better. I just feel that black looks a little harsh there. But it's okay, it is what it is. But really what many people are doing is painting this molding here along with the risers. So it would go white and then wood, white and then wood. Now that also helps update the house. Again, these are commitments. I want you to make sure you're not just taking this video and saying this is what we have to do. This is a starting place. So when somebody asks me, should I paint my kitchen cabinets? I'm always asking for pictures. I'm saying, hey, send me something, and how much is your house worth? You don't want to spend a ton of money if your house is really only worth like maybe $200,000. If your home is $500 or $700, maybe $1 million, these are things you probably should be doing though. So I just don't want you to overspend if you're really not going to get it out when you go to sell. So let's talk about this kitchen. Now, I have a video on painting kitchen cabinets, and I get so many people asking, should they paint their kitchen cabinets? And I don't always say yes, because if the cabinetry is really old, you're not really going to be faking anybody out. Now you can see this kitchen, the cabinets look pretty solid. Like those look like a solid cabinetry. In deciding to paint something like this, I would say, okay, what price point is this house? Now this house was in the high 500s in the Chicagoland area, and the rest of the house is kind of a little bit dated. So there's a lot of dated stuff in this house. And so if you have a lot of dated stuff, you can't just do like one thing and then not do everything else. So they probably made the right decision in not painting these cabinets before they went to sell. However, if you are thinking maybe it's the only thing in your whole house that needs to be updated, these cabinets would do really well painted. I say that again, knowing people are going to say, I don't want you to paint wood. Don't tell anybody to paint wood. I am telling you that if you were to paint these cabinets, maybe like a whitish color, it doesn't have to be pure stark white. I don't want you to think about going completely white, like trendy modern. I want you to think, how are these going to look with the rest of the house? And so, painting them, they've already have the stainless steel appliances. I feel like this countertop, while it's a granite, it's a heavy granite, which isn't as popular anymore. It's a nice solid surface that people are going to like. So probably what I would do is paint the cabinets. Now, for sure, I would have removed this trash can for the pictures. Remember, I'm talking about doing great pictures. This should be gone. These stools are really not adding anything to this kitchen at all. So I probably would have replaced the stools. Now you can see that they chose to have these painted below. I'm not quite sure why, but you can tell that the panel is different than the panels up top. So I'm guessing that this island was an addition. You can also tell it's probably an addition because it is a different countertop than here as well. So when you're looking at this picture, I just want you to take note. Do you see what I see in this picture? Yes, you see this. You can see that this is not in good shape. You can see these dings in there, and you can see how it's not set correctly on the hinges. So that just shows there's some deferred maintenance in this house. Now, I am not quite sure why they painted these and didn't paint these, and this island must have been some type of an addition at the time, but the idea would be to kind of put it all together and make it work all together. So the interesting thing is this is a family that probably replaced the backsplash because they heard that that's what updates a kitchen. The backsplash actually is not that bad. It's neutral. It goes with lots, but it doesn't work with the cabinets that aren't updated. So that's something I want you to think in mind. It's just because you put in a trendy backsplash that other YouTubers are saying looks great, it doesn't all work together. You need to work the whole kitchen together, and you need to think about it. You've got this valance up there as well, which isn't adding to the modernness of the home. And you can see that they left the soap out when they took the pictures. This should not be on the countertops. These should not be on the countertops either at all. So they made the kitchen functional by putting in stainless steel appliances, which are a little newer. So somebody is probably going to come into this kitchen and say, you know what, I can use this kitchen. I'm going to paint those cabinets to make sure they look a little more modern and a little more trendy. Painting is a huge topic that I talk about all of the time. I mean, paint is the number one thing that you can do to update your home. And I'm really excited because if you go to my seller's playbook or you go into the links in the description, you're going to see the new palette that I've put together specifically for our viewers. These are the colors that I think you should be painting your house if you're thinking about selling, you know, in the next 5 years or so. I am very much a fan of spending any money that you have on paint, painting the walls, things like that. Painting your trim work, I know, gonna get some hate, but if you go to that link, you're gonna be able to see my specific colors. I'm really excited about this. And if you click on that link, you are gonna be able to order peel and stick samples that can go on the wall so you can see how the paint looks in the house. Because paint is going to look different depending on the color, depending on the lighting, depending on where it is in the home. You really need to take a look at these peel and stick samples, put them on the wall, order them. These are my selections of colors that you should be painting your home if you're thinking about painting. So either go in the link below or you can download my seller's playbook and they're in there as well. Now that we're on the topic of paint, which, as I said, is my most favorite thing, we're looking at molding and we're looking at trim work around windows and baseboards. This is one thing that I promise you, if you paint your trim work, if you paint your baseboard, if you paint your molding, it's going to completely transform the house and it's going to make it a little more modern. Again, buyers, I know you're going to say you don't like that. It doesn't matter. This is what sells homes at a higher price, is having that painted look. Because in order to paint this, it is expensive. To get somebody out there and paint your trim work is expensive. Now, in this house, you would have had to paint the trim work, you had to replace the carpet, you would have had to paint the cabinets in the kitchen. That is a lot of work that I don't necessarily think this price point necessarily should be spending. But if you are in a higher price point or the market is really, really tight, that's something I'm going to recommend. I would recommend painting this, probably even removing those valances, taking this light down, and maybe staging this room a little bit better. Here's another room that really could use some paint, and I know you're just going to hate me for saying this. Boy, those cabinets would look so beautiful painted. Maybe not a fresh white, but maybe, you know, something a little bit has a little bit of color in it. That would look beautiful. If those cabinets were completely stylized, that would be a stunning, stunning room. Now, again, this carpet is not really doing this room any favors. I'm going to guess there is not hardwood under there, but if there is hardwood under there, it needs to come up. One thing that really updates the look of a home and gives it a really solid sense of quality is heavy doors. These I don't see a lot of anymore, the solid doors. You can tell these are solid doors. These are really beautiful doors. And if this was my house after I was moving in, I would paint these doors and I would paint this trim work and I would pull up that carpet. And if you do that in your own home because you want it to be there, it's going to make a huge difference. And doors add so much depth to the house as well. I would just love to see those painted. I know, again, with the hate, I'm sure in the comments. So let's talk about this bathroom. Again, this house needed quite a bit of painting and updating to kind of make it a little more trendy. So I get a lot of people who send me pictures of their bathrooms that look like this. And it's very, very hard to say in a vacuum that you should update this bathroom. It's obviously not new. Now, it's a nice size and it's not a terrible bathroom. It's not super old, but in order to update this bathroom could cost quite a bit of money. So I will get people that usually will say, should I replace that shower with maybe a clear shower door? And I don't always say yes, because even when you replace that, you're going to have the dated cabinets and you're going to have that gigantic tub, which is definitely like a 90s look. And then you're going to have that tile. So if somebody's going to redo this bathroom, they're going to redo the whole thing. They're probably going to put in some type of freestanding tub. They're going to put in a higher vanity as opposed to the lower ones, which definitely are dated. They'll probably redo the mirrors and the lighting above the mirrors as well. So this bathroom, I probably wouldn't have recommended doing anything to this. Again, this is why you guys need an agent to come in and talk to you about this, because when you're reaching out to me and you're saying, should I do this? I certainly can give you guidance. But It's the agent who knows your area, who knows exactly what is selling and what isn't selling. I mean, this might be very typical for the area, and your comp might be, the same exact price because the market's hot. But if the market's cooler, maybe you do need to do this. That's why I'm just giving you general information. I want to make sure that you're talking to people in your neighborhood. And also, I've said this 1,000 times, this is not where you want a decorator. Okay, you are going to be throwing your money away if you get a decorator. If you get a stager, that's different. So if you don't want an agent, that's fine. You're going to get a stager versus a decorator. A decorator is going to create the home in what you love, and it's going to be very personalized, and they're going to do a lot of things that are personalized to you, and they don't necessarily think about the return when you go to sell. A stager or an agent is always thinking about your return. So while a decorator would come in and create an amazing bathroom, it might not get you that return. It might not be worth it to do it. An agent or a stager is probably going to be able to tell you that. So when you're trying to get additional advice, a decorator is really not the best place to go. If you have a bathroom like this and you're wondering what should you do, we do have a Facebook group that we've created where you can go ahead and just upload your pictures in there. You get comments directly from me, but you also get comments from our community that's going to tell you what they think as well. I mean, sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't. But this is a way that if you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody else yet and you need some help, make sure that you go to our Facebook group today. Let's talk about basements for a minute, because in the Chicagoland area, we have a lot of basements. Many of you don't have basements, but these pictures of this basement show it as, just a place to kind of hang out, blue carpet, red carpet, blue walls in that basement bathroom. I mean, it is what it is. I will tell you, I don't always recommend changing this carpet because it is what it is, and you're kind of like, buyers, take it as it is. I don't want you thinking just because you have all of these colors somewhere that you have to replace everything. I probably wouldn't have recommended changing any of that, especially because this price point is in the 500s. I also get a lot of questions about what to do with your stuff, like when you're moving. Now, this place does not have a ton of stuff. However, this is an example of stuff. And so if you have a lot of stuff, I say you can put it in boxes and stack it neatly. Now they have these shelving units made already, which is beautiful. I mean, this looks fantastic. I don't know if I would include this in my listing, but it is a pretty good picture because it documents it, and it's very clean and nice, and you can tell that they're very organized. Most likely these people really take care of their house. But if you have a lot of stuff, you can stick it in the garage, you can stick it in the basement, but do you see what they've done with these plastic bins? I highly recommend going out and buying some uniform bins where you can just stack it up, and then it looks like you're very, very organized, and you can throw a lot of stuff in there. So even if you have little kids stuff, like a lot of toys, I tell this with my younger families that get a lot of toys, I'd buy a couple bins and then just throw the stuff in the bins and then stick it in the corner or stick it in, the garage when there's a showing or something like that. So I don't want you to worry too much if you have stuff that you can kind of organize nice and neat. Now, I just want to go over the top updates for you so you don't forget. Remember, they are in my seller's playbook. Let's start with paint again. Paint is most important. Honestly, that is where you're going to get the most return for your buck. In addition, paint smells good when you go into a house and it feels freshly painted. So don't discount the showing factor. When you've got a house that's freshly painted, you can tell, and it smells kind of newer. And if you're looking for those colors again, link is below. I've picked out all the colors that you need or that you should be painting your house, including the trim. If you're going to paint your woodwork, yes, there is a trim color there too. Now, one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about painting the cabinets in the kitchen is you can completely change how the cabinets look by using different hardware. So you want it to be a little trendier. I'm going to show you a picture from our house when we bought it and how it looked like when we left it. Now, these cabinets were just painted with new hardware. They are the exact same cabinetry, but just painted with a high quality paint. Can you see the difference? Even though it's white, the sheen is different and the hardware adds a ton. One thing you don't want to discount is that curb appeal. Make sure that you are taking care of your landscaping, making sure it looks fresh, weed, and I can't tell you how much dead trees are such a turnoff. I talk about it all the time, that deferred maintenance is the killer of a home. So ongoing maintenance is not going to get you more for your house, but deferred maintenance will definitely get you less. So you want to make sure that over the course of years, not just right now, not just right before you're selling, Over the course of years, you need to be maintaining your HVAC. You need to be weeding. You need to be fixing paint issues outside of your house. You need to make sure that it looks fresh and clean. One huge thing, power washing. Get a power washer or hire somebody to go out there and power wash your cement out front. It will make a huge difference when you go to sell. Another thing that is really inexpensive and can change the whole room is lighting. Either recessed lighting, which adds a ton to a room. It just makes it brighter, or floor lamps or table lamps. They just kind of really increase the feel of the room. And you can get some really inexpensive ones that are trendy that are going to change the whole look of the room. And make sure if you got that recessed lighting or you're looking at those bulbs, do not use the bright white. You don't want to feel like you're in a hospital. You want it to be the soft white bulbs, and it feels just warmer, but it lights up the room. So don't go bright white. It's such a turnoff for people. And the last thing that I always say, you want to declutter and you want to clean. Cleaning is vital. I mean, if you're thinking of selling in the next few years, I highly recommend that your house get cleaned once a week, once every 2 weeks. Because what will happen is that cleaning person will be there all the time and can see kind of the flooring or the baseboard. If you're doing it as well, that's going to make you notice what's broken, what needs to be repaired. It's going to help you understand your house in depth. That's one of the reasons cleaning is so important. A one-time clean cannot get to years and years of grime and dog and cat hair. It just won't do it. And buyers will definitely see that when they come in the door. And next up on your list, make sure you watch my painting cabinets video. It's going to explain to you the 5 categories of homes. You're going to pick the one that you are in. And if you are a surface shine, which is my least favorite, if you are a surface shine house, you're losing money at the table. Or if you are an unpolished potential, which is essentially a dated home, how you are my favorite. So don't miss that video next.